Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next installment of the Getting to Know the Speaker series for Flow Factor Conference on June 11th in South Jordan. Welcome back. Glad to have you here. This week, we have a special interview with two people instead of my usual one person. And today, we're going to talk with Pallavi and Ryan. They both work with me at Rip City Software, and they have a workshop they're going to be doing at Flow Factor Conference. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Pallavi. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi.
All right, so for those of you that have watched our series, you know we kind of start off with a little bit of background on each of the people speaking. So why don't we just dive in? Pallavi, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey into being a software engineer?
Sure. I think I wrote my first piece of code back in 10th grade. It was in the language BASIC. I was in India at that time. And at that time, I think I was still deciding between becoming a cop and becoming a computer scientist. And I decided computer scientist was a better option at that point. So I think that put me on my way to pursuing computer science. I did my undergrad as computer science and engineering in India. I came to the US and did my master's at the University of Mississippi. Ole Miss, go Rebels.
Like your shirt.
Yeah, like my shirt. And after that, I just, I started on a PhD program, but I eventually did not finish that. And, in some ways I regret it, in some ways I don't, but, that's what life is. And then after that, I just, I moved to a company called Axiom back in Arkansas. And then I moved to overstock.com about 11 years ago to Salt Lake City. And which is where I met both Ryan and Chris. And I, went up the ranks from a software developer to an architect at overstock.com. And then after that, we've just moved into a couple of other roles at companies like Open English, PeopleKeep, and now, I'm part of Rip City Software. So that's my journey.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I did not know about wanting to be a cop. That's kind of cool. Awesome. Learn something new every day. Yeah. Oh, and BASIC was my first programming language too. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Well, computer science really wasn't much of an interest for me until I hit college. I mean, I'd always been an avid gamer and things like that on my home PC, but didn't really. Then I kind of got the idea it might be kind of fun to program these games that I was playing. And so I double majored in college in English and computer science, and graduated, gosh, it was back in 96, which seems forever ago now, but graduated back in 96 and had even gone so far as to get accepted to a master's program in Master of Fine Arts and Creative Writing at the University of Montana, and then also got a job offer from IBM Global Services. And essentially, the short of it is I took the money, and and I haven't looked back. I got a taste for consulting, technology consulting at IBM for the first 3 years of my career, and more or less have been doing consulting since then. And I'm all the way from 96 to now. So I would say 2/3 of my time has been freelancing, and then about 1/3 of it's been with, as a W-2, as a full-time employee with places. Met you guys in 2009, more or less, at Overstock when I joined there. And, I would say, in a way, Overstock was kind of the introduction to microservices. A lot of what they were doing with the delivery and things like that were in the same philosophy. A lot of share. If you had a Venn diagram, there'd be a lot of overlap there. And then moved on, and started working with you and Pallavi at Open English, and that's where microservices really got ingrained into the way I do things now. And I've been loving it, and looking forward to kind of just sharing with everybody at the presentation what I've learned, and also maybe learning some tricks from some of the attendees as well. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the intro, guys. So I thought, since you're my first workshop presentation that we've done, that we would spend a little bit of our time here really talking about the workshop, what you want to bring to the attendees and what the attendees might get out of the workshop. So the workshop is called Avoiding the Traps of Microservices Development. You can look up, I'll put a link in the show notes, but there's an abstract up on the Full Factor Conference website. And so obviously we've worked together a lot on this stuff, and I know that microservices and streamlining that process has been a project passion of mine and all of us, passion of each of you. So tell us a little bit about what a person coming to your workshop, what might they get out of coming to your workshop?
Do you want me to start, Pallavi?
Yeah, please.
Well, I've been an advocate of patterns, I guess is probably the best way to say it, throughout my career, all the way back to the beginning at the IBM days. And there are various subgenres of patterns, and then there's, of course, the counter, which is an anti-pattern, or in the workshop title, I've called those a trap, right? There are things you can do in your development activities that are just a bad practice or a good practice. And I would like us to, basically zero in on microservices and share with you some of the things that I found that work best, development paradigms, tools, whatever, in the microservices kind of architecture. And then, of course, we're more than happy to talk about the anti-patterns too, the things that don't work, the traps that you can fall into that end up wasting you lots of time and make you wonder, microservices, is this really the better way to do things? Because we've all been there. If you worked on it, especially in the beginning days, you're like, I don't know if this is actually improving anything. So if we can avoid some of those traps, or help some people avoid those traps before I hit them, that'd be great. So and then also, I expect that I'll probably learn some things from the participants as well and implement those in my own practices.
Awesome. Pallavi, anything you want to add about what folks might get out of coming to the workshop?
So I think the workshop is going to be an end-to-end saga that we're trying to aim to get you from the starting of the development cycle to the end of your development cycle, which means going all the way to production. And that's the idea of being able to work with microservices, how to build them, how to test them, how to deploy them. And like Ryan mentioned, there's a lot of patterns, there's a lot of anti-patterns, there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of shortcuts that we can all take. And I think we would like to present why somebody would want to take some shortcuts, why somebody would not want to take those shortcuts, and how an ideal scenario might play out. Now, I know that's not probably, everybody's ideal scenario in their workspace, but everybody strives to, go towards that. And just using this as an example, people can try to change their habits or, alter their development practices.
Awesome. So I did just want to follow up with one other question on this. So one of in a more monolithic type world, a popular testing strategy is sort of an end-to-end test, right? Where you have everything set up and you deploy into it. But that kind of environment requires an amount of sort of frozen in time, right? Where one service comes in, it's tested, everything's validated, then it moves on. That really doesn't scale if you've got dozens and dozens of teams all deploying all day long. So just as a preview, anything that you guys recommend on how to do testing if you're going to have an ever-changing environment?
I think one of the bigger practices that the microservices world has adopted is contract-based testing and service virtualization. And we'll try to talk you through some of those. There are various ways in which one can do service virtualization, and I think we'll try to talk you through some of those scenarios and make you work through some of those examples. And whatever we can't complete in a workshop, I think we'll just discuss them as options.
Awesome. Ryan, anything you wanted to add? looked like you're going to say something.
Well, I was just, I think Pallavi kind of sort of jumped ahead a little bit, but my point was just going to be a very simple point probably, which is you can't really focus too much on manual testing anymore. You have to have a really robust, rich suite of automated tests, and some of the techniques were, to do that were what Pallavi mentioned, which is virtualization and contract-based testing. So, but yeah, and every time a build runs, those have got to run too, and they've got to pass. And if they don't, then you're not deploying, and you got to fix it. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I had one other question for you. Oh yes. So, given this is a workshop, are you going to have folks using their laptops during the session? Is it mostly going to be you guys talking? Are there any requirements you might have for the audience that they should be aware of?
I would encourage people to bring a laptop with a development environment on it. Your favorite IDE of choice, probably IntelliJ, I would guess, but Eclipse works as well. If you're doing NetBeans, then God help you, but you can do that too. But yeah, the idea, we're going to encourage participation. We're going to encourage people to actually do some coding and do some commits to our repository, the workshop repository that we've got. If no one wants to do that, then Pallavi, I can do it. You can watch us code. We'll have solutions and be committing as well. So, but yeah, if you get the full effect of the workshop, I'd say bring a laptop with a development environment. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. All right, well, I know I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be doing. I'm not sure if I'll actually be able to attend the workshop. I think I'll be in 4 places at the same time, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah. So as we wrap up, one of the things we've been asking each person we talk to is sort of a thought-provoking question, or even just a question that folks can ask you, maybe something they could think about for themselves, that helps you know that, oh, I listened to the interview, the session, and I got to the end. So Brian, do you want to go first? What question might you want folks to ask you?
I would say, what's the biggest trap that you've run into during developing in the microservices architecture? Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Biggest trap you ran into building a microservices architecture. I like it. Pallavi?
I would say, what is your ideal development lifecycle? I mean, there are people who just want to write code and push it out and say unit tests. What's that?
Nice. Okay, your ideal software development lifecycle. I like it. It's funny you made the comment about unit tests, but as we all know, working with many companies around the country, I'm very surprised that I still bump into companies that don't really do unit testing. And of course, if you aren't doing unit testing, that means as you move out to things like integration testing or any other type of testing, user acceptance testing, those things usually don't happen either, which I'm a little confused as to how you get quality software out the door. But part of what you guys get to talk about in a couple of weeks. So, okay, well, thank you both very much for being here. My first 2-person interview. And can't wait to see you guys on June 11th in South Jordan. And thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks.
Yep.